Hey, this is Jeff Lewis from Radio Andy. Live and uncensored, catch me talking with my friends about my latest obsessions, relationship issues, and bodily ailments. With that kind of drama that seems to follow me, you never know what's going to happen.
You can listen to Jeff Lewis live at home or anywhere you are. Download the SiriusXM app for over 425 channels of ad-free music, sports, entertainment, and more. Subscribe now and get 3 months free. Offer details apply.
Whether you're a morning person or a bedtime procrastinator, everyone deserves a mattress that works for their style. And you'll find the best mattress for you at Ashley. The new Temper-Adapt collection at Ashley brings you one-of-a-kind body-conforming technology, making every sleep tailored to be your best. The collection also features cool-to-the-touch covers and motion absorption to help minimize sleep disruptions from partners, pets, or kids. Shop the all-new Temper-Adapt collection at Ashley, in-store or online at ashley.com. Ashley, for the love of home.
O.G.
Make some noise!
First heard about my next guest in 1999 on the album As the World Burns, out from Matador Records. It was the debut album of the group, The Arsonists. I, of course, rocked this album on my college radio show. This MC has grown in his career since 1999, wearing many hats, from MC to DJ to voiceover work to radio host. He's D-Stroy, and I want to welcome him to the library. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you for welcoming me to the library. Sorry we'll be talking, possibly loud, so any library teachers, we're sorry!
We're sorry! My mom's a librarian, so she'll forgive me for this.
That works.
So I was going to start, prior to Lost in Fire, which was released this year, which was the newest Arsonist album, the last release was 2001. Just what happened that made Date of Birth look like would be the final album?
What happened was, we're in retrospect now, we're after the fact and all the stories have been told, at least privately, and now, I created an opportunity where I was able to re-release the album, which people can go ahead and get the As the World Burns, which was never available online, for streaming or anything. So that's available. And then the Lost in the Fire, which was kind of songs that were created throughout the time, and then later on, that's what that is. As far as the Arsonists and its collapse, the group's collapse, we toured a lot, and when you tour with a lot of individuals, after a while, we were one of those guys that were fortunate in the sense where we were always in Europe, for sometimes 6 months straight out, 5 of us, and I'd be like, I need a room by myself, man, cause this is getting too crazy. But, I love the opportunities that we had. And then, one time we had a in-store in Vancouver, and in Vancouver, tempers flared and one of the guys punched another guy in the face. And then I was like, all right, we're brothers, but we don't physically, get to that point where we can't, have this conversation. So I sent one of them home. And then halfway through that tour, I said I wanted to go on my own and do my own thing. But with the Arsonists in tow, like supporting me, kind of like a Method Man to Wu-Tang. But they felt that I would forget my foundation of the Arsonists. So they, at what I thought was going to be a studio session for me to record my music, was actually like I'm out the group scenario, you know what I mean? And it's crazy because I created the group. So I could have throughout that time say, you guys can't run with the name, we can just do a legal thing. But I also knew we was an underground group. Like, what was the true financial value, or even trying to hold up my friends? Cause, I knew a couple of them when they were punished, when they were still sleeping I was friends with older brothers from, some of those individuals, and had them living in my house. And, I was kind of that guy everybody came to, the house that everybody came to. So I let everybody go and do their thing. So that second album had zero input from me. So I was not involved in that album at all. So that's, after that, they definitely just kind of parted ways.
When I think of underground as a group, when I think of this underground label, I always think of artists that are unbelievably talented and could, if they wanted to, do like the pop song to get those hits and make the money. But with underground, it always feels like there's a sense of longevity there. Did you go, when you started out, were you sensing going in for longevity, or did you want to make that kind of that pop hit and get your money and kind of run?
So I started with Tony Touch. Tony Touch was a very prominent mixtape DJ before he became that. I was already with him. It was Touch and D-Stroy. That was the name of the group. And, we were doing the New York clubs, whatever was like the cool stuff to be at, we were doing it. And when I say we, he would DJ, I would be on the mic getting the crowd hyped throughout the night. And then I seen him going through, he had a lot of sacrifices in regards to, with myself and him being a group, we were only able to put together 9 songs in like 5 years of our relationship. And then the Arsonist was, 1 year we made 100 songs, so he gave me an ultimatum. Like, what are you going to do? Are you going to go with them or are you going to roll with me? And when I was given that ultimatum, I didn't like it. I didn't like that somebody was kind of like telling me, and I'm in the control of my own destiny, so I said, I'm going to go with my friends, even though none of them were at Tony Touch's status. I still felt these guys came to my house, slept in my house. They, they were really grounded. So what we made, we didn't know what was going to happen with it. Bobbito ends up playing it. Actually, Tony Touch even gets it on Hot 97, and we go up against Jay-Z, The Roots. And, it was a good run. As far as like us, the longevity of it, I knew that our play was stage. I know that's where we were good at. Musically, we didn't have a Premier, we didn't have a Evil D, we didn't have a Damon Dash. We had no kind of senior mentor to be like, hey guys, do it like this. So that's why the album has, in my opinion, too many songs, which was 21 songs. And, it came out the way it came out. But what's amazing is that in turn, people loved it. And people there is no in between with that album. It's either you really loved it or you just didn't even mess with it. You know what I mean? So that's why, I think to your point, like when you go more commercial, you'll have those kind of wishy-washy fans. But for us, we had like real core who understood the culture, who understood the value of fat beats, Rocksteady anniversaries, stuff like that.
In an interview prior to the release of one of your solo albums, More Than Beats and Rhymes, you said, quote, "I'm an open cat, I'm not an MC, and I don't rap, I'm an artist." Kind of looking at your body of work, what make them, for you personally, works of art versus a work of an MC or just a rapper?
So we have so many influences where I think artists box themselves in. It's almost like a DJ at a club now thinking he has a program director he has to serve to. Right. You just program yourself to have to be like, I have to get tattoos. I have to smoke weed. I have to do all these things that I think that's what a quote unquote rapper is. Me, I was fortunate to be inspired from De La Soul to Onyx, also in my neighborhood. I come from Bushwick before it was gentrified. So some of the funniest people were from the worst places, you know what I mean? And that showed me a lot of things, that I could also be a lot of things. My father was a police officer and my mother ran an underground casino, without my father knowing this. So I had like the both worlds in one household. And then my brother would rob whoever really made a lot of money at my mother's casino. So I was raised in that. So it wasn't so much that, I cared about being one thing. I wrote poems. I later on in my career, comedy, I got into that and I started doing so many things that rapping and being an MC almost became restrictive only because of how people looked at it.
All right. When you approach, and listening to your body of work and just talking to you now, you approach writing as a lyricist versus a rapper. I mean, I think, what are the two major differences?
Unfortunately, we care too much about rapping. We care too much about lyricism, where don't want to get to the what is it like now, but now it's almost like novelty to be dope, to be a lyricist. Like, yo, you see what Black Thought, he did? And it's almost like where I'm looking at now, a lot of the guys are spending more time on networking and building relationships and less time behind the lyricism of it. As far as for me, I cared about it. I'm a son of Lord Finesse, I'm son of Kane, son of all those people. So it was only true to my lineage of those before me.
Earlier I said that prior to recording, I talked about how I played the Arsonists on my what I called underground hip hop radio show. And in my college, there was a commercial radio aspect of, even though it was a college radio station, there was push to be more commercial. Was there ever a time that you or people were kind of quote unquote offended by the term underground MC? I mean, what does that mean? I
was definitely offended later on in my career. It was almost like saying that Big Pun was good for Latino rapper. Right. Where I was like, that guy's amazing throughout. It doesn't matter. So I was, a lot of people, I came up in clubs. I came up going to clubs. I became a quote unquote underground rapper only because of my associations, but I came up in very popular New York City clubs, meaning that I danced. So if Puffy came out with a hit, I danced to it. I wasn't like, I can't deal with that, so, and I kind of like to have fun. So if underground made people envision the dirty tracks, train tracks in the dark, I wasn't about that. I had a portion of my life that was like that, but I also knew that I like to have fun and have a blast.
It's funny, when I started the underground hip hop show, I thought more about lyricism, and then you would meet people that'd be like, "Oh no, underground is grimy," and stuff like that, and so it kind of blew my. I was like, "Oh, underground's a lot of things."
Yeah. It's a thing where people kind of get these kind of themes, and then they make it that, and it just, for me, I had a blast in the underground. I've had a lot of fun. I've met a lot of cool people. I've never smoked weed in my life. I never got drunk in that era at all. So anything you would think, I was just not that. But I was out there, and I'm still out there, and that's what makes things great.
You mentioned you grew up in Bushwick,
correct?
New York. What was it for you? And you talked about it a little bit, but what was it like growing up there, and how did that experience shape you as an artist?
It was amazing. I seen my first murder when I lost my virginity. A friend got shot. A police officer. She told me she wanted to console me, and so I met her by a church at 1 a.m. in Williamsburg. And then we talked, I cried, and then she took me to the basement of Moja Projects, and she took my virginity right there. Yeah. So, but, I end up, all these crazy things in my life from everything I witnessed. We've done a lot of bad things. I've talked friends off the roofs as they held their babies, and I got slices in my wrist. I got slices on my hands and my neck at a church. So life's been interesting coming up, but I know that didn't define me. I knew that there was more for me. Hey, I was born there. You don't get to choose, how, where, or who's your parents and stuff like that. But I definitely, everything I have now is all by design.
How has Bushwick, for people who don't know, how has Bushwick changed? And
people do know. People do know. I hope people do know. What I want to say is that, everyone's taking an L. The people who were originally from there and the new quote unquote hipsters that are moving there. Everyone is getting taken advantage of. So, it's now a soulless land. They've taken obviously the soul out, which I believe was the soul. I mean, New York City is where hip hop came, where salsa came from. A lot of things came from here, but if you kind of, marginalize it all and, cookie cutter it all, it's going to be gone, Right. So that's how you have, walls you can punch through, sheetrock now. And back then, of course it was harder, but, it was also made for people who are artists come and become artists. They didn't have to, oh my God, I got to pay my rent. And now I got to live with 20 people just to split this one rent. So yeah, Bushwick has changed immensely, like New York City, like San Francisco, Oakland, LA. It definitely has changed. I am just fortunate that I'm a kid of the crack era.
Was there ever, I mean, we talked about just getting your wrist sliced, you talk about violence and stuff like that, but was there ever, going back to the art, was there a guy or even a girl that maybe it was like the local artist or the local MC that kind of had a big impact on you that no one really know about?
No. Oddly enough, what happened was I fell in love with hip hop through Video Music Box and the radio. I was the kid who would go with a VHS tape to school, and at lunch I'll play all these hot songs. I was the go-to guy. Stretch and Bob, I had the new Big L that I would play for everyone. I was committed to hip-hop. Probably the most committed in all Bushwick. Evil D from Black Moon comes out in 94. Before he even was that Evil D guy of Black Moon, I was sneaking into Sweet 16s by holding speakers for him, and he didn't even know me, but I was just helping him.
Right.
And then what happened, there was like a guy who rapped, but he rapped like casually and like not seriously, you know, but he was an older guy. And, I battled him. I freestyle battled him, and he had all these written rhymes and I had nothing ever written, you know, and I was like, wow, yeah, this guy is good. And then the guy who I got stitches for, he challenged me. He was like, you're not a rapper, bro. If you're a rapper, come here tonight. We're going to meet at 8 p.m. You're going to come with a rhyme. I'm going to come with a rhyme. And whoever's rap is better is the one who's a real rapper. I showed up at 8 p.m. He had no rhyme. And that was my first Disco Dave is the dope shit out now. Knock you through the sky like a white cloud. Legit Lord Finesse's flow. You know, and that was it. That was the beginning for me. I met Tony Touch. Tony Touch was like, word, you know, you're good at what you do. He put me on a mixtape, number 9. And from there on, me and him, I gained the confidence. I kind of already had my reputation in the neighborhood. So it just grew from there.
Freestyling. Going into this interview, I watched a bunch of stuff. Videos you were freestyling. You did with Kane.
Yep.
You did with Search. You did with Chris Rivers, Big Daddy Son. What is it about the freestyle that you enjoy?
What I love, not only that it's spontaneous, that anything can happen. So I came up from battling. Fact, like in the Village, when the Village was the Village and the cops would clear the streets. That was me in Washington Square Park, on the train, always looking for a battle. After Wetlands, after Tramps, New Eurekan Cafe, I'll stand outside and I'll be down a battle. That was what was great about freestyling, because you're always available for anything that was spontaneous. So if you said something and a guy jumps in and he says something almost snarky or almost like, whoa, was that at me? You just kill him on your opportunity, and now it's a thing. But that's what made it amazing,
right.
You know?
Where did you're obviously you're very funny. Where does the humor aspect come in with your rhymes?
So the humor comes from, you know, Andrew Dice Clay. My mother's a maniac. You know, I just, like I said, when you see the most vivid shit in your life, you just learn how to turn it into something fun, I guess. And then I just honed in on it. A lot of people say, yo, you're funny. I started doing a lot of things, just kind of going into that. I loved Pee Wee Herman, you know, Paul Rubens, you know, of course, Eddie, and all these comedians, and learning Mel Brooks went to my high school. I like took pride in that, right. You know what I mean? And just, I came up just kind of loving it and kind of, you know, quietly studying it. And then I became, you know, I started dabbling and ended up getting a 4-year scholarship, through Amy Poehler to write for her. So I was like, okay, this is a real thing then.
How do you transition from, how do you transition from writing, quote unquote, funny rhymes, I guess, to writing funny for an actor?
So, you know, what it is a lot of things is confidence. I tell you, Static Selector released an album that I was on, and he asked me to be on it. And, I'm not a fan of just rhyming to rhyme. Right. You know, I don't want to rap just because I can rap. I want to rap because I'm inspired to do it. You know what I mean? So he wanted me to be on his album. I didn't want to be on it. And he was like, come on, man, you're my friend. Why wouldn't you get on a, you know, and I'm Static. Like I'm popular. Like, why are you not? And he played some songs he wanted me to be featured on, and I didn't want to do nothing with it. I didn't want to talk about anything aggressive. You know, like, it's silly to me now. Like, I know the guys who are rhyming. You know, I've seen them with their daughters at Chuck E. Cheese or whatever. I'm like, come on, guys. But I had a song about me having to take a shit. You know what I mean? That was already recorded over one of his beats. And this was originally a song I did back when I was 17 with Tony Touch. I just re-recorded it over one of his beats and updated the lyrics a little something. And he put it on his album. And I laughed. And what's so funny is that, inspired by De La Soul and Prince Paul, I made it a hidden track. I told him make it a hidden track because it's so odd, but also finding a hidden track to my era was like, wow, I'm telling no one. You know what I mean? But and then when people will find it and then they'll tell me, like I almost felt like, oh, okay, this is a real hip hop head. That's how I kind of like was my own little nugget. But to transition to that into on paper, you know, it's timing, you know, I'm pretty cool with timing, and my jokes just kind of come out. And then when I started looking at scenarios, of course, I've been through thousands of great scenarios, just retelling those stories. And then you're looking at something someone writes and you're like, man, how could I, you know, implement, you know, my craziness to it. So there was a web series called East Willoughby that, I seen them make a post. It was about Bushwick and it was a comedy. So on Facebook, I was like, how are you guys going to do a web series about Bushwick and comedy and not involve me? You know, I was like very bold on Instagram like that. So they called me in for a meeting and I didn't care to be on the show. I just wanted to see what it was about. You know what I mean? And then, the next week they asked me to come in for an audition. Now I came into the audition and, there was a couple of people online auditioning as well. But when I went in, I knew a couple of people there already who knew of me. Okay. So they were like, almost like, this dude, you got him? So that made me very confident. I rewrote the script and I memorized it the night before. So I went in with my lines, and I knew that's a disrespect to some directors, you know what I mean? But I also knew that it was a web series and it was about Bushwick. So what are you guys paying me? This ain't a Will Smith production, you know? One time I did a short film where I kissed a girl, and I told my girlfriend, you know, I just want to let you know, I kissed a girl in this film. And she was like, you kissed a girl? I was like, yeah, you know, that's what actors do. And she's like, yeah, but are you getting Denzel Washington money? You know, but that's just how it is. I just like to have a blast. I know that there's 1,000 reasons you can be upset or disappointed, even if you check on your own timeline. But I just try to be that kind of positivity that people could get into.
I'm going to go all over the place.
Go for it, please.
And I think it's important to mention that you're from the era that Fat Beats Records was important. You know, it was like an era.
Yeah, it was significant. Yeah.
What was the importance of Fat Beats to your career?
Yeah. So Fat Beats was very important because it was definitely like a church. It was also a museum, but it was a hangout. You know, when we released our first record, Tony Touch he paid the studio session $1,200 D&D for our first single, On Fondlem, which Bobbito released, right? And when we had our in-store for the first single, Tony Touch showed up for his money. He was like, yo, when the fuck am I going to get money? You know, because he was like, yo, this shit is popping. Right. I'm sure you guys are making some money somewhere. And me, I was like, I'm still like his little dude. I was under his wing. You know, he was like an old G to me. And hearing him be that way with me, it was almost like, wait, what? You're my big brother. Right. You shouldn't be. But I understand money is a different situation. It changes relationships. But fortunately for me, there was, you know, a bunch of guys in the Arsonists and a manager that he could direct his attention to. So anyway, he gets into a fist fight with one of the members of the Arsonists in front of Fat Beats. And we ended up breaking it up, and they ended up squashing the beef. But just the significance of Fat Beats, because the guy who ends up managing it, Eclipse, was when I became OC's hype man for his first album, Time's Up, he was the guy taking me everywhere because he used to work at Wild Pitch. So I had a relationship with him. Right. And then Jab, the owner, he lived on Morgan, which was in a L train stop that I lived on in Bushwick. So we started seeing each other. I'd go up there. If there was an album I didn't have, I'd go over there and get it. Q Unique ends up working there. Ill Bill ends up working there. It was super significant because we did a lot of their first, anniversary parties. The event we did when Big L died in LA was for Fat Beats, and Big L died a week before, and there was like a big should we do this? Because it was Showbiz and AG was on the bill as well, and so was Big L, but he ends up passing, so we're kind of like in a weird place. But we did the Atlanta Fat Beats. We went to the Amsterdam Fat Beats. It was good. Fat Beats was a great thing for the culture.
Well, you touched on a little bit, but obviously, you talk about Fat Beats. You talk about you hear everyone, and it seems their mother is there at some time.
For sure.
You walk in. I remember watching. I think I walked in, and Murs was freestyling.
Why not?
With that type of culture and grouping, was there any collaborations that probably would have never happened that just happened because of the nature of
I'm very sure that happened because I got great relationships through Fat Beats. Me personally working with someone, not because of Fat Beats. Like we did a song with Jay Live that was never released, but we ended up putting on the Lost in the Fire.
High school.
Yeah. And then, but I knew all those guys. Nonfiction.
Yeah.
The relationship with Arsonists and Nonfiction. Like I said, Q and Ill Bill worked at Fat Beats. So we were doing a lot of bills together. We were doing, songs. They did the 14 years of rap together. And, we did some other stuff that wasn't released. But Fat Beats was a great place, where Questlove told me he loved the session because of how dirty it sounded. Kanye with freestyle there. Everybody, like you just said, it was a great place to be at.
In your video for your track Good, featuring Q Unique.
Right.
Two things that I noticed you do is you have a video of the Rocksteady anniversary and Bushwick. Why? And you've obviously touched on Bushwick. But why have those two things in your video to represent the music that you're doing?
So a backstory. That was a song that Ghostface did before anything for a violinist that I worked with named Mary Ben-Ari. So I had a verse on it. So Ghostface ends up not doing anything with the song. So I gave this song to Q Unique, and I gave him the song, the files to the song. So I didn't know. He goes and he remixes it, and then he puts his own verse to it. And I was like, oh shit, you just made a song out of nowhere. He actually really did. So I commend him for that. And then, I think I went on Craigslist and I offered somebody $60 to film me and Q Unique, throughout Rocksteady anniversary. I was just trying to find environments that made sense to the song. Rocksteady, of course, it's very culturally close to me. I've been involved since the 16th anniversary, and now we're at 41 years. And then, Bushwick, that was the block I grew up on. So it made sense for me to take it to those places.
When you think of Rocksteady Crew, you think of, for me, they're great because they do a lot for hip hop culture, but they also represent all four elements of the culture. We talked, you're a lyricist, but you're more than that. Commercially, what we have is that lyrics or rapping represents hip hop culture. But if money wasn't the object, if money was no object, and it wasn't about commercialization, would there be one element that you would want to be the representative of hip hop culture, whether it be graph?
For sure. I would love it to be b-boying, breaking. I think breaking is the best thing in the world. Why? Because I know that they're healthy. They visually are healthy individuals. They have to keep their bodies in shape. So visually, that's a healthy image for our culture. And I know that those individuals are very passionate to a point where they're ruining their bodies. A lot of them, we're getting older, so a lot of them are getting smarter on how to do moves and stuff. But, the Crazy Legs, that dude went through a lot of operations.
Yeah.
And I know those guys, their commitment is more disciplined than a rapper. I know that factually. DJs. We're different from, DJs aren't very vocal. They don't really say a lot. And when they do, we kind of get mad at like how arrogant they are. But a lot of them were, they studied their craft by themselves in a room, with turntables, with headphones on and nobody hearing. So I don't think they're like that person, and MCs are too crazy. And then graph artists, what some people may not know, a lot of graph artists weren't even listening to hip hop. They were listening to metal. They were listening to rock, and there's nothing wrong with that. It was just, hey, I love the art. I just happen to be in New York. Right. You know what I mean? So, I love all those elements, but I definitely think the B-boy and B-girl are the strongest of all.
You talked about Crazy Legs, and you did a show at lunch breaks with him.
For sure, man.
When you had Big Daddy Kane on.
Right.
For me, I can't rhyme for shit, but for me, I feel like that would be like kind of an in-awe experience. Was that same for you? What was it like when Kane was driving?
So driving there, I was stressed. The reason why is because I know that Big Daddy Kane has been interviewed thousands of times.
Right. Yeah.
So for me to ask him anything new, I was like, I don't think I can really nail it. Right. I think my thing is comedy in this box with Big Daddy Kane. I thought about De La Soul when they dissed him. I thought about him fingering Madonna and having sex with Naomi Campbell. I think of all these real things that would have been real dope questions, but I'm sure somebody asked it, So I'm like, man, what can I do with this guy that'll be different? And what ends up happening, I kind of like just throw it away, and I just live in the moment. When he starts doing his rendition, his verses to Crazy Legs trying to catch beats on the turntable. It was all a crazy, it was a zoo, because you got a B-boy who just started DJing last week, catching records, and a legendary MC right there, and the Robin Williams of rap, me just going crazy with Big Daddy Kane. But it was a formula of amazingness, and I cherish that moment.
Was there ever a guest that you had on lunch breaks that kind of embodied everything you thought hip hop culture should represent?
Yeah, several. I just want to let the people know, if you ever hear this, I want to let you know, I think we were ahead of the curve.
Right.
I think we were ahead of the curve with lunch breaks. We don't even have a lot of footage. We barely have any footage. That was because I knew that was a moment, and I told Legs, hey, how can I get that? So I had to like figure out how to rip it. I edited it all by myself. I had to do all that. But we had over 120 guests. We did that show almost every day, every day of the week. And I used to drive to New Jersey to do it. Everybody was amazing, and I'm not even saying that generically. Like, shit, we had DJ Premier, where Premier played the original version to 10 Crack Commandments, the beats that Jeru the Damager was on, and there is no reference to that song. Now, if you go to YouTube, there is, where you can hear Jeru's version of the 10 Crack Commandment with me yelling over it, you know what I mean? But there was a lot of special moments in that, but I think we were definitely ahead of the curve.
I asked you about hip hop culture, and we talked about, you talked about breaking being important, but you hosted Scratch Academy, the DVD. What's the importance of the DJ for you in the culture?
It's amazing. I mean, the DJs, I was fortunate to be the Executioners tour MC. We toured with Eminem for 6 months. We did another Sobe tour with The Cool for another 6 months. And the DJs, I've always loved the DJs because, like I said before, they're in their room. They're very focused. They're super disciplined. They spent a lot of money on their vinyl. They spent a lot of time with their vinyl. And to come up with those tricks as, just real turntablists, bro, that's deep. You know what I mean? That's a difference between a graph artist and a tagger, or an MC and a rapper, or, a DJ and a turntablist. And you just have all those, the divisions. Some people do it because it's just cool to do, and some people really freaking do it, and that's the reason what made me so attracted to that, that element.
Talked about your humor, and, you did write for comedy, but you also, watching you and Kane, I was dying laughing, partly because I was like, he's not going to make Kane laugh. And
right.
Yeah, and
that was my goal, to make Kane laugh. Continue.
But he kept on going, which is kind of like incredible to watch. So I want to end this interview with just some random ass questions.
Go for it.
First thing that comes to mind. Favorite farm animal?
Favorite farm animal? Man, I want to punch a horse. Actually, it's not in a farm, but a raccoon. I would love to hug a raccoon. I know they're in New York somewhere, and they're not in farms really, but I definitely love to punch a horse.
Favorite part of being in a group, favorite part of being solo?
Favorite part of being solo is, actually, I'll tell you what, not my least favorite part of being a solo is you have to muster you have to inspire yourself. Being in a group is good because I come from a team environment.
Favorite part of voiceover work?
Voiceover work, it's so fun. I did a video game for Rockstar Games, and the character I was a big Mexican gangbanger with tattoos all over his face, and my accents and everything I did just to play the game and hear my voice to that body. He was like a big obese guy, like a kingpin like guy. I love it because it's any image that the director or producers can create.
You mentioned it, but favorite New York City animal?
A favorite New York City animal? Squirrel.
What?
Squirrel. The reason why squirrel, because I know squirrels have seen murders. Squirrels are everywhere. I know squirrels have seen everything. They are still out here while you're out there doing negative stuff and you don't want people to snitch. If squirrels could talk, a lot of you guys will be in jail. So squirrels.
You know, Evidence from Dilated Peoples is a huge squirrel fan too.
Yeah. I was, we had a crew called the Squirrel Gang. Yeah. Logo and everything.
You're probably going to, I probably know the answer to this, but best New York City neighborhood?
Best New York City neighborhood? Oh man, I'm
gonna say Washington Heights because I grew up there.
Right, and I guess I wouldn't say Bushwick. You know, it'd be biased because it's me. Right, yeah, but I'll say the Village because everybody came there, and you'd see like, where you from? I'm from the Bronx, right. And then you see different styles, and you know. So I think the Ville back in the, there was a shelter there. I remember the girl who sold drugs. She wanted me to be a boyfriend. She gave me a ring. I never kissed her. I was like her bitch. It was amazing.
Favorite sound effect in a hip hop beat?
Favorite sound effect in a hip hop beat? I liked all Electro Records clean versions because it seems like whoever the engineer was on the DOS Effects, Busta Rhymes, Missy Elliott records, they put so many different sound effects that I almost felt like the clean versions were art in itself, and every CD in my collection is clean.
I think because you're a New Yorker, I think New Yorkers do this because I do this. Okay. My wife thinks I'm going to be a crazy old man because I'm already doing it.
For sure.
But have you ever had a moment where someone is an asshole to you, and you thought about it, but then you kind of 5 seconds later you realize you're saying it out loud?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think I say it out loud first, and then my lady would tell me, your daughter's right here. What's wrong with you? But I also, unfortunately we're New Yorkers in that way, but I'm very fortunate that I was able to travel throughout the world and I got to see how other people kind of communicate with each other. And I know a lot of the stuff that I learned wasn't necessary. Right. Sometimes that shit brings its own energy that you're like, wait, I didn't expect it to go there. But that's how it is. When people in the Midwest or somewhere else may see a video of a fight and you're like, how did it go from there to there? That was just how, and that is how New York is. We like fast forward to the end, like beef, like let's get what? You want to fight or just swing? That's just how it is.
What is there a go-to record that when you just want to get away that you put in your tape? Yeah. I listen to I recently went on a long drive and just listened to 80s rock music. Stone Temple Pilots have a song called Plush that I love. And there's just a lot of other stuff, musically that I enjoy. I collect vinyl. So I'm one of those, like, I could listen to a random record that I don't even know who the hell it is. I'll play it and I'm like, wow, this is so interesting. I could envision it. And, working and doing what I do, I almost have to be that, right. Cause I just finished doing a Major League Baseball event where they were like, hey, could you recommend some songs? And I set up their whole vibe, nice. That night. And then, for the NBA, same thing, like, hey, what do you recommend? And all my stuff is clean anyway. So, I've just been, I'm definitely a music guy. What's next for you?
Next for me, I'll be doing an event in Vegas that I can't really speak of, but I'll be doing my 6th Super Bowl, my 13th NBA All-Star game. I'll be doing it's called the eSports League, where video games are a thing now, have been a thing, but now they created leagues for each sport. So I'm the host, for Twitch as well. But yeah, man, I've been lucky and fortunate that I just did the Major League Soccer All-Star game, the first of its kind, where I watched some of the worst, soccer players in rappers play, Waka Flocka, B.O.B., Young Jock playing against, some other, one-hit wonder type guys. And it was hilarious, but I loved it, and it was also great for the sport.
So you're a soccer fan?
I'm a soccer fan. I'm a everything fan pretty much, but I'm a soccer fan mainly because I think Americans are so much on their own shit. They don't understand the power of soccer outside of America. So I'm almost like, all right, you guys keep thinking that whatever you're doing is bigger than what's happening outside of America. LeBron made how much money? Do you know how much this guy made? So it almost becomes a thing where Americans are just so much in their bubble that I just love to kind of be a troll too amongst my own homies, who thinks, anything is dope. I just like to challenge it.
He's D-Stroy.
Yes.
Incredible artist. Been listening to you since 1999.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for joining me at the library.
You got it, man. Everybody out there, unfollow me at Instagram at DStroy.
Radio Andy.
Hey, it's Andy Cohen. Join me on Andy Cohen Live, where it's just you, me, and some of the world's biggest celebrities. Paris Hilton, Chelsea Handler, Seth Rogen. I love you, Miley. Thank you so much.
You can listen to Andy Cohen Live at home or anywhere you are. No car required. Download the SiriusXM app for over 425 channels of ad-free music, sports, entertainment, and more. Subscribe now and get 3 months free. Offer details apply.
The living room is where you make life's most beautiful memories. But your sofa shouldn't be the one remembering them. The new life-resistant, high-performance furniture collection from Ashley is designed to withstand all the spills, slip-ups, and muddy paws that come with the best parts of life. Ashley high-performance sofas and recliners are soft, on-trend, and easy to clean. Shop the high-performance furniture in-store or online at ashley.com. Ashley, for the love of home.